When we think of the Renaissance, images of magnificence, beauty, and splendid works of art immediately come to mind. But behind this brilliance often lies suffering, loneliness, and tragedy. The great artists became immortal through their creations. Yet in their own lives, many carried deep wounds. Let us begin with Michelangelo. While painting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, he spent years gazing upward. The muscles in his neck stiffened, his eyes became inflamed, his fingers struggled to hold the brush. Every day he climbed the scaffolding, stretched out beneath the vault, and worked for hours without pause. In his letters, he described how his back had bent, how his face was covered with drops of paint, yet he never gave up. For him, art was not simply work, it was a way of touching the divine. His suffering gave his creations their sacred depth. Caravaggio tells an entirely different story. He was the master of light and shadow. His paintings are filled with drama, violence, and raw human emotion. But this darkness was not only on his canvases. It consumed his life. Caravaggio was notorious for gambling, drinking, and constant brawls. In a heated dispute, he killed a man and was forced to flee Rome. He lived in exile, often in misery and fear, yet his brush never left his hand. He frequently used himself as a model. His criminals, martyrs, and saints were often reflections of his own tormented soul. His art was revolutionary, but his life was the tale of a tragic downfall. Then there is Piero della Francesca. He brought mathematics and perspective into art. His works radiate balance, proportion, and harmony. But in his own time, his art was misunderstood, too abstract, too intellectual. He died almost blind and largely forgotten. Today, we celebrate him as a genius of perspective and geometry. Yet in life, he was a lonely figure, ignored by many of his contemporaries. His tragedy was to be a man ahead of his time. El Greco also stands out as a figure who transcended the Renaissance. With his elongated figures, unusual perspectives, and bold colors, he developed a style unlike anyone else's, but his contemporaries could not understand him. Many critics called his work strange, improper, even mad. El Greco spent his life underappreciated, dismissed by the world around him. Only centuries later did modern artists rediscover him and recognize him as a visionary. His tragedy was to be a genius whose brilliance would only be seen long after his death. Renaissance artists often depended on wealthy patrons. The Medici family, kings, and powerful nobles provided money, but also imposed restrictions. Artists frequently painted not their own visions, but the works that were commissioned. Some suffered under this pressure. Others rebelled subtly, embedding their own spirit in small hidden details. All of these stories remind us of a profound truth. The lives of the artists were often much darker than the art they left behind. Michelangelo's solitude, Caravaggio's violence, Piero's obscurity, El Greco's rejection, all were tragedies. Yet these tragedies nourished their art. Pain became brushstrokes. Loneliness shone through the eyes of their figures. Violence hid in the shadows of their canvases. And today, when we stand before these masterpieces, we are not only struck by their beauty, we also feel the echoes of the artist's suffering. Perhaps this is why Renaissance art remains so powerful. Because it is not merely paint on canvas, it is the reflection of the deepest wounds of the human soul.